Aaron Gilchrist.
We got two bodies down here.
Tonight, an urgent manhunt is underway in Arkansas for the man who police say committed a horrific double murder, killing a couple hiking with their young daughters. The man attacked the Brink family on a walking trail in Devil's Den State Park Saturday afternoon, according to police. They say Clinton and Kristen Brink's 7- and 9-year-old daughters managed to get away unharmed and find help.
2 children are there. They advised that their parents were assaulted. One was possibly stabbed.
At first, officers scouring the park thought they heard signs of life.
Hear yells calling for help. They're hiking down.
We're hearing them too.
But then they say they made a grisly discovery, finding Clinton and Kristen Brink dead on a trail. Police say the suspect is a white male who was seen driving toward a park exit in a black sedan. This park has thousands of acres of dense vegetation. They made it hard to search for both the victims and the suspect here. And while police don't believe he's in the park anymore, they've closed off all of the trails until further notice. Authorities now urging anyone at or near the park that day to check for footage or photos of the suspect. Do you feel less safe here in the park knowing what happened here over the weekend?
I do. We just stayed in the car with the doors locked.
Tonight, a relative telling NBC News the Brink family had just moved to the area 3 weeks ago. Their loved ones releasing a statement saying Clinton and Kristen died heroes, protecting their little girls, and they deserve justice. They will forever live on in all of our hearts. Aaron Gilchrist, NBC News, West Fork, Arkansas.
All right, we turn to politics now, and those new comments from President Trump saying he turned down an invitation from Jeffrey Epstein to go to his private island amid the controversy over his administration's handling of the DOJ's Epstein files. Here's Gabe Gutierrez.
Tonight, President Trump revealing he turned down an invitation from notorious sex offender Jeffrey Epstein to visit Epstein's private island in the Caribbean, while he says many others went.
Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island, and I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island.
President Trump also detailing what led to his falling out with Epstein more than 20 years ago, an argument over workers at his Mar-a-Lago club.
He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again, and I threw him out of the place. Persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it.
There's a new bipartisan push to force the Justice Department to release all of its files related to Epstein, especially after the DOJ interviewed convicted Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell last week. Tonight, President Trump suggesting there was no damaging information about him in the DOJ's Epstein files, saying if there was, President Biden's Justice Department would have made it public.
They were run by Comey. They were run by Garland. They were run by Biden. Those files were run by these people. They were run by my enemy. If there was anything in there, they would have used them for the election.
Epstein was arrested and prosecuted during the first Trump administration. Also today, Maxwell's attorney once again asked the Supreme Court to overturn her conviction. Tom?
All right, Gabe Gutierrez at the White House for us tonight. Gabe, we thank you. President Trump, as we know, overseas, where he's issuing a stark warning to Russia's President Putin with a new deadline to end his war with Ukraine. Here's Kelly O'Donnell.
Tonight in Scotland, President Trump showcased the power of his office and the assets of his wealth. Trump branded golf resorts to appear more host than guest. With Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer, President Trump changed his tactic toward Vladimir Putin.
Every time I think it's going to end, he kills people.
Russia hitting a Kyiv high-rise overnight, a drone strike leaving residents, including a child, injured. The president shrinking his 50-day deadline for Putin to reach a ceasefire.
I'm going to make a new deadline of about 10 or 12 days from today. There's no reason in waiting.
If no ceasefire, Mr. Trump threatened to impose sanctions and secondary tariffs on Russia's trade partners, prompting this warning from a former Russian president. Each new ultimatum is a threat and a step towards war, not between Russia and Ukraine, but with his own country. But Ukraine's President Zelensky thanked President Trump for his focus on saving lives and stopping this horrible war. Also during this visit abroad, the president de-escalated his tariff war with the European Union. The U.S. set a broad 15% tariff, down from a threatened 30% import tax on many EU goods, including European cars like BMWs and Mercedes, while the EU reduced barriers on American-made cars sold there. They're still refining this deal over tariffs for certain kinds of goods, from pharmaceuticals to agricultural products, with the wine and spirits industry still hoping for a better rate. Tom?
All right, Kelly, we thank you for that. Now to those dramatic images in the skies over Gaza. Airdrops of desperately needed aid, as President Trump describes some of the conditions there as real starvation. Here's Matt Bradley.
Tonight, facing fierce criticism, Israel allowing airdrops of aid into Gaza. Thousands of tons of aid dropped by United Arab Emirates military planes in partnership with Jordan, and an Israeli aid drop overnight. Met by droves of desperate Palestinians clamoring for food, carrying away sacks on their backs. I'm going to die for flour so we can eat, 18-year-old Abdul says. Israel paused its offensive against Hamas to allow more aid distribution, but the UN calling it a drop in the ocean compared to what's needed. Tonight, President Trump saying there's starvation and the U.S. will help.
Some of those kids that's real starvation stuff. I see it. And you can't fake that. But we're going to set up food centers.
The president at odds with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who says reports of starvation are lies.
There is no policy of starvation in Gaza, and there is no starvation in Gaza.
But Trump also saying he's working with Netanyahu to get the last hostages out, saying Hamas refuses to release them.
They don't want to give up these last 20 because they think as long as we have them, they have protection.
Meanwhile, in Gaza, a doctor shows pictures of 13-year-old Hoda not so long ago, but now she's bedridden. The doctor saying hunger changed the color of her skin and hair.
Hoda is one of the examples for severe protein deficiency.
Two human rights organizations became the first Israeli groups to accuse Israel of genocide in Gaza. The Israelis responded by calling the accusations obscene and baseless and said Israel only targets Hamas. The U.S. has said Israel isn't committing genocide. Tom?
Matt Bradley with those devastating images out of Gaza. Okay, Matt. Up next, Deion Sanders reveals his private battle with bladder cancer. The NFL Hall of Fame